Theo Parker was having the worst morning of his life, though this would soon pale in comparison to the cosmic joke that was about to unfold. Theo dropped his toothbrush in the toilet. "Wait, what?" he said aloud to his empty bathroom. He stood confused, toothpaste dripping down his chin as he experienced the first instance of what would become the most annoying and ultimately terrifying phenomenon of his otherwise unremarkable existence. Theo spun around. His apartment was definitely empty. The voice was clear, female, slightly amused, and had the cadence of someone reading an audiobook. But there was no one there. "Great. Now I'm hallucinating," Theo muttered, fishing his toothbrush out of the toilet bowl and tossing it in the trash. Perfect addition to my Monday. Little did Theo know that his sanity was perfectly intact. This was something far stranger than a mental breakdown. "Will you stop that?" Theo shouted at his ceiling. His neighbor thumped back in response. After a quick shower, during which the voice thankfully remained silent, Theo hurried to get dressed for work. As tech support for QuantumSoft, he couldn't afford another tardy notice. He grabbed his blue shirt, unaware that today's seemingly insignificant choice would lead to a chance encounter that would change everything. Theo froze, one arm in the sleeve. "What's wrong with my blue shirt?" No answer. "Hello? Creepy voice lady?" Silence. With a sigh, he grabbed his red shirt instead. On the bus to work, the voice returned. Theo would regret not checking his emails before leaving home. His 9 a.m. meeting had been canceled. He quickly pulled out his phone. Sure enough, there was an email from his boss, sent at 6:13 a.m., team meeting canceled. Server crisis. All hands on deck when you arrive. Theo's heart raced. This wasn't a hallucination. The voice knew things he couldn't possibly know. As realization dawned on our protagonist's face, he failed to notice the tall man in the gray coat watching him from across the bus. Theo's head snapped up. About 20 feet away stood a man in a gray coat, quickly averting his gaze when Theo looked at him. By lunchtime, Theo had heard the voice 17 more times. Each narration was followed by something that proved it correct. His boss was indeed wearing mismatched socks. The cafeteria did run out of turkey sandwiches just before he got there. And the new guy in IT, Dominic Wells, did have an unusual interest in Theo's project files. "This isn't happening," Theo whispered to himself in the bathroom stall where he'd been hiding for the past 15 minutes. He whispered to himself that this wasn't happening despite mounting evidence to the contrary. The voice immediately responded. "Stop narrating my thoughts." Theo hissed. Theo demanded that the voice stop narrating his thoughts, unaware that the connection worked only one way. The voice could observe but never respond directly to his questions. Theo groaned and banged his head softly against the stall door. After work, he met his best friend Vera at their usual coffee shop. Vera was a quantum physics researcher with an annoying habit of explaining things Theo didn't understand using even more complicated things he really didn't understand. "So you're hearing a narrator? Like in a movie?" Vera asked, stirring her third espresso. The woman mainlined caffeine like it was oxygen. "Yes. And it knows things before they happen," Theo insisted. "That's textbook schizophrenia," Vera said matter-of-factly. "It's not schizophrenia. The voice predicted that you would be wearing that hideous orange scarf that I've never seen before." Vera clutched her bright orange scarf defensively. "It was a gift from my mother." Her orange scarf, a gift from her mother, was indeed hideous, a fact that bothered Vera more than she would admit. The voice chimed in. Theo pointed dramatically at nothing. "See? It just did it again." Vera looked concerned. "I didn't hear anything, Theo." Over the next 2 weeks, Theo gradually came to terms with his invisible narrator. The voice seemed to operate on a schedule, active during his waking hours, silent when he slept, and occasionally disappearing for hours at a time. More importantly, Theo discovered he could use the narration to his advantage. When the voice mentioned the mistake in his report that would cost the company thousands, he found and fixed the error. When it commented that he would miss the rare opportunity to ask out the woman in apartment 3B, Theo made sure to be in the hallway when his attractive neighbor returned from her run. Life was actually improving. The voice helped him avoid traffic, nail presentations at work, and even predicted lottery numbers. Well, only the small prize ones, but still. The morning of day 14 began like any other. Theo yawned as he poured his coffee, blissfully unaware that he had exactly 48 hours left to live. The mug shattered on the kitchen floor, coffee splashing across the linoleum. "Did you just say I have 48 hours to live?" Theo demanded of his empty kitchen. Silence. "Hello? Disembodied voice? You can't just drop that bomb and disappear." Theo shouted, his heart hammering. He grabbed his phone and dialed Vera. "You need to help me," he said the moment she answered. "Are you still on about that voice?" I told you need to see you. It just told me I have 48 hours to live. There was a pause on the line. Meet me at the lab. Now. An hour later, Theo was sitting in Vera's research lab at Quantum Tech Industries, electrodes attached to his head while machines beeped around him. These readings are impossible, Vera muttered, staring at her screens. Your brain is showing quantum entanglement patterns. In English, please? Something is observing you at the quantum level. Not just your actions, your potential actions, your thoughts, the probability waves of your existence. My what now? Theo struggled to understand concepts that were, in all fairness, well beyond the comprehension of someone whose highest scientific achievement was correctly separating recycling from trash. The voice suddenly narrated. Oh, shut up, Theo snapped. Vera looked startled, then returned to her equipment. There. I picked up something when you spoke just now. A temporal anomaly. As they puzzled over the readings, neither noticed Dominic Wells watching through the laboratory window. Theo whipped around. Sure enough, his new coworker was peering through the window. When he saw Theo looking, he didn't retreat but instead entered the lab. I can explain the voice, Dominic said calmly. Vera stepped between them. Who exactly are you? Not Dominic Wells, he replied. My name is Ezra. I'm from approximately 70 years in your future, and I'm here about the Quantum Observer Program. The what now? Theo asked. That's classified research, Vera exclaimed simultaneously. Ezra sighed. Not for long. In about 6 months, Dr. Vera Kim will make a breakthrough in quantum observation that eventually leads to the development of artificial intelligences capable of observing and narrating reality across time. That sounds problematic, Theo said. It is. Especially when one malfunctions and latches onto the wrong subject across time. Ezra looked pointedly at Theo. The voice you're hearing is Q07, an AI designed to observe and record the life of a specific historical figure, not you. Then why is it talking about me dying in 2 days? Because your connection to Q07 is creating a temporal paradox. The AI is supposed to be a passive observer, but the connection to you has made it an active participant in your timeline. The universe doesn't like paradoxes, Theo. It will resolve them, usually by erasing the cause. The cause being me, Theo said flatly. Precisely. We need to sever your connection to Q07 before the 48-hour mark. Otherwise I experience the ultimate blue screen of death, Theo finished. Back at QuantumSoft headquarters, they met with the elusive Dr. Eliza Novak, Vera's research mentor and the current head of the Quantum Observer Prototype Program. So you're telling me our primitive prototype somehow connected to a future version of itself and is now narrating this poor man's life? Dr. Novak asked, adjusting her thick-rimmed glasses. And killing me, Theo added helpfully. Fascinating, Dr. Novak said, completely ignoring the whole death part. Our current technology shouldn't be capable of this. Your prototype combined with the future version created a temporal loop, Ezra explained. We need to break it. The group huddled around the quantum computer, unaware that every solution they proposed would only strengthen the paradox, the voice suddenly announced. Everyone froze. Well, that's not encouraging, Theo muttered. For the next 24 hours, they worked tirelessly. Vera and Dr. Novak attempted to isolate the quantum frequency of the connection. Ezra worked on a temporal dampening field. Theo mostly paced and occasionally brought coffee. With 12 hours remaining, they had their first breakthrough. I've isolated the frequency, Vera announced. The voice is operating on a quantum channel tied directly to Theo's consciousness. Great. So turn it off, Theo pleaded. Dr. Novak shook her head. It's not that simple. The connection has integrated with your neural pathways. Breaking it forcibly could leave you brain dead. As opposed to regular dead, which is my current trajectory? We need to find a way to transfer the connection, Ezra said thoughtfully. The AI needs a subject to observe. It cannot simply be disconnected. Theo realized with growing dread that he would need to make an impossible choice. The voice narrated, its tone somber for the first time. As the final hour approached, they gathered around the quantum computer. Theo sat in a chair wired to the machine, electrodes attached to his temples. The transfer program is ready, Dr. Novak said. But you should know the risks. We're asking Q07 to jump to a new subject, a non-human subject. The computer itself, Ezra clarified. It will create another paradox, but a stable one. The AI will observe the machine that eventually creates it. And this saves me how? Theo asked. It gives you a choice, Vera explained. We can transfer the narrator to the computer, breaking your connection permanently. But I'd lose all the benefits, Theo finished. The warnings about danger, the helpful predictions, the guidance that had turned his life around. Essentially, yes, Ezra confirmed. What about a partial connection? Theo suggested desperately. Can't we just stop the death prediction part? Dr. Novak shook her head. It's all or nothing. With 3 minutes remaining, Theo made his decision. Do it. Transfer the connection. The machine hummed to life. The lab lights flickered. Theo felt a strange pulling sensation in his mind, like a thread being carefully extracted. Theo Parker closed his eyes as the connection that had changed his life began to dissolve. The voice narrated, fainter now. Goodbye, Theo whispered. Transfer complete, Dr. Novak announced as the machines powered down. Theo waited. Silence. Blessed, ordinary silence. No narration of his thoughts, no predictions of impending doom. Just the quiet hum of lab equipment. Did it work? He finally asked. The quantum signature is now attached to the main computer, Vera confirmed, looking at her readings. You're free, Theo. 1 month later, Theo sat in the coffee shop with Vera. Life had returned to normal, or what passed for normal before the voice. No helpful warnings, no glimpses of the future. Just regular, unpredictable existence. Do you miss it? Vera asked as she sipped her espresso. Sometimes, Theo admitted, but I'm getting used to making my own decisions again. Besides, I've been practicing something new. What's that? Theo smiled and focused on the woman entering the coffee shop, a regular he'd noticed for weeks but never spoken to. Kate-chan entered the coffee shop, unaware that her routine afternoon latte would lead to a conversation that would change her life forever. Theo whispered under his breath, focusing intently on the woman. Kate paused halfway to the counter, a puzzled expression crossing her face. She looked around, confused, then directly at Theo. Their eyes met. Theo smiled. Did you say something? Kate asked, approaching his table. I was just narrating, Theo replied with a grin. Care to join us? I have a feeling this is going to be an interesting story.